Hi everyone, welcome back to another episode of Let's Talk Tinnitus. I'm back with another Q&A because the last Q&A was just so enjoyable to do. The amount of questions I got, I just knew there were so many other people who didn't get their questions answered. So I'm going for it again. And I just want to remind you, I'm not a medical professional, but I have had tinnitus my whole life. And I just love sharing all of my knowledge with you and all of my tips and all of the things that I did wrong, which I shouldn't have done in my early stages when I was suffering with tinnitus. I just want to remind those of you who are listening on Spotify or Apple that I do have a YouTube channel, and the comment section is such a great positive place to connect with other people with tinnitus and to ask questions directly to myself, because I will get back to you. It is so nice when I have you all in the comment section because it just makes me realise I am actually talking to real people. So I'm just going to get straight into it. I did put a story up on my Instagram asking you if you had any questions, so I got quite a few on there, and then I also put a post on my community side on YouTube. So if in the future you have any questions I haven't answered yet, do go onto my social media and I'll just take a screenshot of them and then I'll make sure to answer them in the next video. This is a question I get asked a lot. How long can spikes last? And this is from Emma. Spikes can last from one day, a couple of hours, to a few months. I mean, I've had spikes that have lasted me the longest about a month, and that was because I never wore hearing protection when I went out to the clubs and things like that. So I'd get back home, I'd have a terrible spike, and it would last for too long, okay? And it's because I wasn't eating well, I wasn't sleeping well, I was drinking far too much, and I wasn't protecting my ears. So when you go out, just make sure to wear hearing protection, because actually 30% of people with tinnitus have got it from loud noise exposure. And sometimes spikes, they can be avoided because, you know, loud noise exposure, you can do something about it, but sometimes spikes just happen for no obvious reason. There doesn't have to be an evident cause to cause your spikes. I've woke up one day and I've had a terrible spike, and did I do anything that actually triggered it? Not that I can think of. So just got to go with the flow when it comes to tinnitus sometimes. But if something doesn't feel right for you, definitely get checked up by a medical professional so they can rule out any underlying causes, because the last thing you want is to have that weighing pressure in the back of your mind saying to you, oh yeah, this is something bad, because that's just going to boost your anxiety way up. It's going to make you feel stressed out, and going to the doctors just gives you peace of mind, and it gives you that clarity that you need to get on with your habituation journey. The next question is, how did you manage to stop the anxiety of making your tinnitus worse? When it comes to tinnitus, obviously it's a very big subject to get anxious and stressed about, because it's a subject of complete unknowing sometimes. And I can completely relate to this because I've had tinnitus my whole life and there's no obvious cause. At this point, I've put it down to being hereditary and to have something to do with my mid-range hearing loss. When it comes to anxiety, yes, in the past I got so anxious about my tinnitus and I was absolutely terrified that it was something that was going to kill me. And I know that might sound like an exaggeration, but I know if you're in my situation, you have been in a similar place where you feel like tinnitus is harming your health without you knowing. There must be an underlying cause. For some people that is true, but for a lot of people there is no obvious cause, and that's completely okay. And half the time tinnitus is not a threat to your health. If you're thinking about it a lot and obsessing over it, then it's going to impact you mentally. But half the time it's just one of them things that not everyone knows where it's come from. And if you find there's no underlying cause that's evident, then you know what, you're safe, you're healthy. So you've just got to learn how to live with it through CBT techniques, changing your lifestyle to get you to the point of habituation. I think the main thing that really helped me stop being anxious about my tinnitus is through social media. As soon as I started posting about tinnitus, I realised that it's not just me. It's not just me on my own. There's other people dealing with it, and it is a very common thing. And in the UK, I think it's around 1 in 7 people have tinnitus. So although it's an invisible condition and you walk down the street, you might not be able to tell if someone's dealing with a similar thing to you, but trust me, there's a lot of people going through it. It's not just you, and you can live a happy and normal life to the point where people don't even notice you have it, and you don't even notice you have it half the time. And that's me at the moment. I'm completely habituated because I don't feel alone anymore. I've educated myself about the subject, I've spoken to a lot of audiologists, I've got that peace of mind, and most importantly, I've got those tools and different products to help me just live that comfortable and happy life. I think what was really delaying my habituation in the early stages was the fact I was always looking for a cure. I was always looking for that remedy on Amazon, something I can quickly buy that will just help me get rid of tinnitus. The biggest thing for me was when I went on Amazon the first time, I found a product that you could flush out your earwax, and yeah, it's something that you shouldn't use because it damages your ears, and half the things on there that are claiming to cure your tinnitus, well, half of them, all of them, it's a load of shit, okay? Nothing can cure your tinnitus unless you go to the doctors, there's like an underlying cause which they can then solve, then your tinnitus will go away as a result, but that's the only cure for tinnitus. I mean, it's a cure for the underlying condition because the tinnitus is a symptom as a result. The other thing that actually really helped me was changing my lifestyle. So obviously CBT techniques, and if you want to learn more about CBT, I've actually got a video about it on my page, but CBT techniques are basically a way to retrain your brain to live with the sound, and so you no longer have a negative response. It's about creating new pathways in your brain for you to follow rather than always thinking negatively about something that's impacting your day-to-day life. So if you've got tinnitus and you wake up in the morning and you're like, oh, this is going to ruin my day, you can then change these thoughts to more positive ones so it can impact you better in the long run. So you're just more overall positive about it, and you get into the habit of being positive and not negative. Because as you know, if you're negative, it's just going to fuel that fire. And when I was in my worst places with tinnitus, I would, I'd wake up in the morning, I'd think these negative thoughts, and then I would go on to have a really negative day, and I would just stay in bed all day, I would give into it. And I've said this so many times, but I think it's so important because if you are negative, it does create that domino effect, and you can get yourself really, really deep into a bit of a depression with tinnitus and a bit of a place where you're stuck. Once I started eating healthier and going to the gym, meal prepping, and just overall looking after myself, I thought to myself, well, if tinnitus isn't actually harming my health, then I'm absolutely fine. So I've got to keep myself as healthy as possible. And to be honest, doing things like this, like, obviously you've got to try not to be obsessive about it, like going to the gym all the time to distract you from your tinnitus, but doing these little things, like even having a hobby, like creating some art, I found really, really helps me just take my mind away from it. And the more you do things to replace the times where you sit and you worry about your tinnitus, the more you're going to live a happier life, and you're going to stop thinking about tinnitus altogether. The overall goal with tinnitus and getting to the point of not caring about it is called habituation. And when you get to that point, it's basically the next best thing to a cure. Like, you don't need a cure to live happily. It would be great if there was something like a pill you could take, but there isn't. There's no pills, nothing you can take to stop your tinnitus. But what you can do is make yourself a stronger version. And I'm actually kind of glad I've got tinnitus, because I would never be this strong and confident if it wasn't for it, because I've learned how to deal with these really stressful times. And now, you know what, I'm just a result of these harder times, because you do get stronger with every downfall that you have with it. Also, before I go on to the next question, sorry, it's a bit of a long one. You've got to remember that tinnitus, habituation, getting to the point of not caring, it's not a linear journey. You're gonna have these setbacks where you feel like, oh, I'm back to square one, but you're not. You've learned so much along the way, and every downfall you've had with tinnitus, you're just gonna bounce back stronger. And you've just got to keep in mind all of the little things that you're achieving, like whether it's just getting out your house for a little bit, like that's a massive thing. Like, a little bit of progress is an absolute huge thing when it comes to tinnitus. The next question I've got is, how do you deal with a long car journey with tinnitus? I've just booked a holiday in Scotland. I've done a fair few Scottish road trips before with tinnitus, but this is the first one since. That's a really good question, and I think when you do anything that you once did when you didn't have tinnitus, if you've recently just got it, it can be quite a daunting thing, because you don't know if it's going to impact your enjoyment. And I feel like there's so much you can do when it comes to car journeys with tinnitus, and I think the main thing is just keeping your stress levels down, because obviously stress is going to increase your tinnitus. That's a big factor for a lot of people anyway. Not everyone has it where it increases their tinnitus, but I know for me, when I start getting stressed and I start like raising my voice, my tinnitus starts blaring, okay? So if you're setting a route to Scotland, like where you're going in Scotland, and you get there and you get to the wrong place, that's going to be very stressful. So make sure you plan your route and you plan carefully. And plan plenty of breaks so you can sit down, have things to eat, you know, nourish your body, and you can feel all set to get yourself to that destination, because the last thing you want is to be dehydrated, not eating and just not feeling well, because that's just going to make you feel not great. I'd also say keep your mind engaged, chat with someone whilst you're in the car. Like if you're driving, obviously be careful, but if you're not driving, get a word search, do something like that. Obviously something that's not going to make you feel sick. It's one of them things, you just got to find the balance, but look after yourself and just take plenty of breaks. Take your earplugs, because then you can just pop them in, you can go for a nap or something, and you know, you'll have that peace of mind knowing that your tinnitus isn't going to be set off by any like loud noises. So this person has a few questions. Lately, I've been having trouble falling asleep. I wanted to ask you what your routine is and what methods you use to fall asleep. So these days I fall asleep quite quickly, but I do listen to sounds to get me to sleep. I always do that, and my boyfriend, he used to hate it when I used to play sounds, but then he's since got used to it and he actually loves listening to the sounds as well, and they help him get to sleep too. If you can't find a sound that you like, I would say test out the volume levels, test out a combination of 2 different sounds. I find that wave noises are usually my go-to, or just trickling water, things like that. Test the waters with what sounds you like, what sounds you don't, because once you find that sound, you will thank yourself. I've also said this a lot in previous videos, aromatherapy is brilliant. I absolutely love just spraying a sleep mist. I've got this Sanctuary Spa one at the moment. It's a sleep mist, I think it's lavender. It's very nice. You just give it a little spray and it just calms you. It calms you so much, and it helps you get your body associated with rest. So if you have that little scent, or even if you have a candle, light a candle before bed, make sure to blow it out. You don't want it to like stay on all night. Yeah, the smells can associate you with relax and downtime. I would also like to know whether it is normal for me to feel overwhelmed in crowds, or genuinely in places where there is a lot of talking, crowded restaurants with music, for example. Then when I get home, I need to wind down and I notice that my tinnitus is a bit loud. I get this all the time, and one thing that's actually helped me is Flare audio earplugs. Like I don't use them that much now, but I know that they do really help. I don't actually know where mine are, but they're not like hearing protection. They actually just go in your ear and it like muffles the sound a bit, so you can like focus on what you're doing more, and you can just, you know, get your mind calm. Because I do get that, like when you're in a place where it's loud and it's just, there's a lot going on, tinnitus can really just amplify everything as well. But when I get home, I can then also relate to it getting louder, because obviously you've been in a loud environment. Maybe experiment with different hearing protections and see which one like protects the clarity of your voice, so you can still engage in conversations whilst protecting your ears from the loud noise around you. The final question from this person is, does exercise genuinely help? I noticed that my ears have become a stress organ, and accordingly they are quite sensitive to certain noises. Are these typical symptoms of tinnitus? I'd say absolutely they are. And to answer your first question, does exercise genuinely help? Yes, 100% in my case anyway. Although it's not directly impacted my tinnitus, it's improved my mood, it's given me a structured routine in my life, it's helped me have a new hobby, it's, you know, making me overall healthier, boosting my circulation. All of that kind of thing is going to add up in the long run with how you're reacting to your tinnitus. And I feel like if you're the healthiest version of yourself, tinnitus is going to disrupt your life a lot less. I think when you're referring to your ears as a stress organ, it would be to do with like sensitivity with noise and things like that. And it's the same with me when I go out to different places and people talk a little bit louder, you know, I can feel my tinnitus getting a bit louder here and there. But especially when it comes to stress and just having my brain like going all active and things like that, especially when I'm studying, it does make my tinnitus a lot louder. But it's about how you perceive it that matters. So if you're in a bad frame of mind and you've not been exercising, things like that, you're going to deep your tinnitus a lot more, and you're going to, you know, not feel as great with it. Also, sorry about my budgies, they're very distracting. If you learn to manage your stress through different CBT techniques, this is really going to help you in the long run, especially with all the noise sensitivity that can be causing this stress. So if you're in a loud environment and you have these different techniques in your mind to use, these can really help in the long run. This question is from Kelly. She says, mornings are the toughest for me because I wake up and bam, there's the noise. Were mornings ever hard for you? And if so, how did you overcome them? Yeah, and they still are sometimes, I'm not gonna lie, but it's about how you get through it that counts. And there's so much you can do for mornings, and I think it's very, very common for people to have tinnitus louder in the mornings because your perception is instantly increased, because I feel like when you wake up you're pretty stressed because you're like, oh god, I need to get up, I need to get moving. And my alarm, I found, really does set off my tinnitus, and it really spikes my stress levels. So what I've done to actually counteract that is, instead of using your phone alarm, use a sunset lamp. Okay, this sunset lamp, I set an alarm for like 9 o'clock, and then it slowly lights up within like the hour to the brightest light. And I think there's like receptors in the back of your eyes. I'm not a scientist, but there's receptors at the back of your eyes where when you wake up in the morning, your brain associates light outside to boost your brain to wake it up, basically. That's why the sunset lamp is helpful, because it slowly, gradually wakes you up. Also, I'm sorry about my dusty room, but rather than having a really jarring ringtone or something to wake you up, get one of them lamps. They're absolutely amazing. Having an established morning routine is very helpful because you can just wake up, go downstairs, have a coffee, have your breakfast, read your book, give yourself plenty of time in the morning before you go about and doing your daily routine, and just keep them stress levels down, because ultimately the mornings can be louder because of stress, and yeah, you don't want to be in a rush in the morning. So giving you that time and that rest before you go out about your day is really going to help. Also, a healthy breakfast really sets you up for the day, and I feel like making the breakfast is just the most therapeutic thing, and it's just relaxing, makes you feel like you've got your shit together. So yeah, just have a nice established routine. I've actually got to go to work. Finally found the time to do this video, and yeah, I don't want to go too long about posting the video because I do really care about you guys, and I absolutely love all the support you give me. But yeah, sometimes life gets busy, and I've had so much going on recently with university deadlines, starting back at my summer job. But yeah, I always find the time for you guys. So all of the other questions that you've asked, I will answer in another video when I don't need to rush, because the one thing I don't want to do is rush my videos for you guys, because I really do value making content for you and I absolutely enjoy it so much. So I hope this video was helpful, and if you want to learn more about tinnitus, CPT techniques, things that have helped me, I've posted so many different videos on my homepage and you can find them all on there. I hope you all have an amazing weekend, an amazing week, an amazing morning, amazing evening, wherever you may be, and having you on my journey is helping me just as I am helping you. So thank you for being here. You guys mean so much to me, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.